following program is taped in front of a studio audience and is a production of Fugues Media. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Assholes. This is our Medi Club Special Part 2. I'm your host, Gabriel Berezin, and by my side, my inner voice.
Hello. Hey, remember your dumb app idea?
Of course I do. It helps you find parties already in progress that match your interests. Like parties for people who don't drink, gamers, trivia nerds, people who do a reasonable amount of drugs that attend watch parties for award shows or Super Bowls.
Got pretty specific there at the end. What was it called again?
Gather. I spelled it G-A-T-H-R.
Right, there's no E. I get it. Remember when you pitched it to your digital design expert friend?
Kevin, yeah. He politely waited for me to finish, then he asked one question.
Is it addictive?
Shit, Gather's not addictive, it's creepy.
Yes, it is. But that question basically explains all for-profit industry, doesn't it?
From cigarettes to Doritos to Tinder and Netflix to fortune tellers.
If it gives you a hit of some combo of the happy mood chemicals, endorphins, oxytocin, and dopamine,
then people will always come back for more. I feel like this is what they're doing at MediClub.
like the same stuff Facebook does?
I don't know, I doubt they're this intentionally manipulating your brain chemistry, but I have to think these events are engineered in a certain way.
And we're just speculating on what that might be. We don't actually know.
No, we don't know these guys. In fact, now might be a good time to reiterate.
State your hate.
Here's a quick clip from part 1. The event we'll be describing is basically a meditation retreat.
Okay, so?
Let's just say I have a thing for events like this.
Like a crush?
Yeah, like an anti-crush. We both find group meditation and wellness retreats a little,
Lame.
I was gonna say kind of irritatingly positive.
Okay, so, lame. Good reminder of your biases.
And yours. So, where'd we leave off from part 1?
The whole place was chanting. While flailing their arms in tandem. You were being an asshole because you felt excluded.
Oh yeah. So let's pick up where we left off at MediClub 2018. After the paramilitary rally ended, our meditation facilitators shifted their energy from erratic to tranquil. They told us to bring our hands to our laps and close our eyes. This part was smoother. They handed off to each other, speaking in hushed tones, telling us to think of a person that brings joy and love to our lives and to make them our symbol of these ideas. Between their words, it was perfectly silent in there. I could hear distant sounds, but inside the room, I could barely hear people breathing. I have to admit, I felt pretty good in that moment and surprisingly more receptive to their sermon or whatever you'd call this than I expected. So they continued, talking about projecting love into the world, a constant loving energy emanating from your mind and body. Maybe this part wasn't for me, but that's okay. It still felt nice to be there. I even allowed myself to shut my eyes, which in a situation like this felt a little performative. I struggled not to make fun of myself.
Ooh, you're so meditating right now.
But I focused on the sound again, or the lack thereof, something about the noiselessness in there with all those people in one room. I can see why their other series is called The Big Quiet. It's definitely a unique experience. I started thinking of all the things happening right now, not just here, but in all of Greenpoint. I was weighing the big stuff, like how many people in a 1-mile radius were having sex right now? 50? No, more than that. 300? I like to be specific, like guessing the number of M&Ms in a jar. So let's say 358. 358 people were having sex at this very moment, or at least engaged in some kind of heavy petting. I imagine the neighborhood like a dollhouse, people going about their business, cooking, working, playing with their kids, staring at their phones. And then I realized how absurd it is that we're all here at the same time. Everyone in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, in Queens, 8 million people. And then I high-speed zoomed out from the northeast of the country to the familiar shape of the United States, to the slow at first and then sped up, spinning, pale blue dot planet Earth, to the solar system, the other solar systems, to the swirl of the Milky Way. And then I was reminded that time is truly relative, and that the idea of a now moment is totally subjective, and it depends on where you are in the universe.
Can we cue the music, please?
welcome back to Assholes. Boy, I'm in a real meditation high fugue here.
Yeah, you kind of tripped out.
I was surprised how much of an effect this exercise had. It definitely got me present.
Pretty big shift from the deathbed future thinking fugue in part 1.
Very different.
I feel like there's at least 3 known ways to induce this present moment fugue. Remember that TED lecture with Jill Bolte Taylor?
The stroke of insight?
Yeah. Here's a neuroscientist who had a devastating stroke in the left side of her brain, but her experience of it was pretty unique.
Oh yeah, she kept being overcome in a present moment of awe, right?
And I looked down at my arm and I realized that I can no longer define the boundaries of my body. I can't define where I begin and where I end because the atoms and the molecules of my arm blended with the atoms and molecules of the wall. And all I could detect was this energy.
You know what that sounds like?
Being stoned?
Exactly.
Without context, if you heard her talking like that about energy and atoms and molecules, you'd probably think she just took a bong hit.
And then all of a sudden my left hemisphere comes back online and it says to me, hey, we got a problem, we got to get some help.
So she's making a big distinction between the left and right hemisphere. She talks about how our two hemispheres almost have different personalities.
And in this case, the left side personality kept going offline as the stroke was happening.
Yeah, and the left hemisphere is generally associated with the mindset that thinks about the past and the future. It's the planner or the worrier. Kind of reminds me of someone.
Sure, someone who only manages your life.
Our left hemisphere thinks linearly and methodically. Our left hemisphere is all about the past, and it's all about the future. Our left hemisphere is designed to take that enormous collage of the present moment and start picking out details, and more details about those details. It then categorizes and organizes all that information, associates it with everything in the past we've ever learned, and projects into the future all of our possibilities.
So with that hemisphere offline, the right hemisphere of her brain takes the spotlight, which placed her more firmly in the present moment.
Our right human hemisphere, it's all about right here, right now. Our right hemisphere, it thinks in pictures, and it learns kinesthetically through the movement of our bodies. Information in the form of energy streams in simultaneously through all of our sensory systems, and then it explodes into this enormous collage of what this present moment looks like, what this present moment smells like and tastes like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like.
For those of you that have never had an edible or hit the weed, it definitely roots you in the present moment, like this moment at Medi Club and Jill Bolte Taylor's stroke moment. I felt like I could relate to the state she was in. I think it's why listening to music while high feels so good. You're just attuned to every sound and its effect on you as it's happening.
I heard Carl Sagan even believed that THC, the active ingredient in marijuana, reduces blood flow to the left hemisphere, allowing the so-called creative right hemisphere to be more dominant.
Carl's not exactly a neuroscientist, though. Has anyone studied this?
Seems mostly anecdotal.
I hear you, though. I do love this quote from his 1977 book, The Dragons of Eden. I wonder if, rather than enhancing anything, the cannabinoids simply suppress the left hemisphere and permit the stars to come out. This may also be the objective of the meditative states of many regions.
Oh my god, was that your Sagan impression and you've been practicing that?
Maybe not enough.
By the way, what did you bleep?
Oh, well, he said regions, which was probably permissible in 1977 when he wrote it, but...
Wait, you bleeped it again.
Oh, okay? Don't make me say it again.
What?
The inappropriate word for Asian, you fucking dummy.
Oh.
Anyway, it's just interesting that he made the same connection.
It rounds up 3 known ways to ground yourself in the present moment.
Meditation, smoking pot.
Having a terrible stroke in the left hemisphere of your brain.
Yeah, let's avoid that one. But it made me think about MediClub. Why do these guided meditations? What's the point?
Aside from the fact that it feels good, if I had to guess, when you feel high and present like that, there's a sense of creativity and possibility.
Every present moment is a chance to turn it all around? Is that it?
I guess.
And that you can snap out of your patterns and make a change.
Which is basically the goal of all self-help programs. Though it's unclear if that's even what this event actually is.
Either way, you don't need a drug or brain damage to have that feeling. Pretty smart, actually.
Well, look at you, Mr. Open-Minded.
Good time for the ass scale, I'd say.
What do we think, studio audience? During this session of MediClub, is Gabe on the Woody/Rose sucker side of the spectrum open to new experiences? Okay. Or the Larry David, aka Richard Dawkins, skeptical to the point of closing himself off completely asshole side.
You suck. Well, barring that one dude, I guess I'm opening up. Now I'm feeling real growth. Let's see what's next. I'm actually excited now.
Okay.
What?
Nothing. Let's head back to MediClub.
Okay, let's head back to MediClub. Good.
Good.
Fine.
Yeah, fine.
You're being weird.
Yeah, I'm the weird one.
Our guided meditation guest hosts handed back to Jesse, and he demanded another round of applause, and boy did he get it. And then he announced the next guest, a singer, a white woman in flowy urban hippie clothes who was going to perform a song, it turns out, in the style of Amy Winehouse, I guess? I didn't hear all the words, but it was something about being wary of your mind's bad habits. Fair topic? Not much of a song. To her credit, though, she sang it a cappella, no guitar to back her up or anything, which is really hard and stressful. But she also had that blissful smile on her face while she sang, and it looked a little forced because she seemed very nervous, so I don't know where that smile was coming from. Still, when she finished, everyone hooted and hollered, and given how hard it is to perform like that, I appreciated everyone's enthusiastic support. She put her hands on her heart, taking it all in, her bliss smile really beaming now. Jesse took the floor again and announced a new exercise. We were told to break into groups of 4, and the prompt was to pick something you're avoiding in your life and ask what your life would look like if you stopped avoiding it. I spoke to 3 women. The first was very tall and slender with very distinct facial features. She was dressed to kill, a white fishnet top with a leather vest, leather skirt, and high heels. She had dark black hair, and her lips looked constantly pursed for some reason. Observing her outfit made me take stock of mine. A long sleeve, black t-shirt, gray jeans, and boots. Not impressive. I think she talked about staying motivated for her business, but all I could think about was whether or not I missed the dress code for this thing. Then the woman to my left spoke. She just ended a 4-year relationship. Now she felt stuck, afraid of deciding who to be with next. Should she get in another relationship that just runs its course and doesn't work out? So for now, she was avoiding getting close to anyone. Dressed to Kill asked what it would look like if she stopped doing this. She said that maybe she'd find the right guy if she was more optimistic. Then we moved on to another lady who sat a row ahead of us. She talked about her family life. She moved far away from her parents because she was avoiding being close to them, but was now trying to return. Then I went. Mine wasn't far off from everyone else's. I think I'm becoming sort of post-love. Damn it, kombucha not settling in very well. And as I get older, watching family and friends divorce or die. Why are we talking about this? Why am I talking about this? I just don't want to get any closer to anyone. I worry that if I do, everything about my life, Jesus, my face is on fire, will just be filled with, does it look as red as it feels? The pain of loss. Then the lady that feared new romantic relationships asked how my life would look if I stopped avoiding this. I'd be less alone, I guess. You know what? I'm gonna excuse myself. I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
And welcome back to Assholes.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
What's wrong, kitten? You seemed a little despondent there.
Nothing, I just didn't like this part.
Didn't you make kind of a connection with that group, though? It's an interesting scenario, all those people in a room opening up to each other, listening intently to each other's fears.
Yeah, it just felt familiar somehow.
Like a 12-step program?
Yeah, mostly because of this shares format.
It makes sense. The point of 12-step programs is to create community and fellowship.
Yeah, but I kind of resented that.
Why?
Because I thought this was about finding inner calm, not crowdsourced therapy.
But weren't you hitting on real issues?
Yeah, but I didn't come for that.
So you don't like 12-step programs?
No, I think they're very useful, but I thought they were reserved for people with addiction problems. And in those scenarios, their shares about their struggles are in a confidential setting.
So you felt exposed?
Yeah, I did. These stories we're telling in this exercise are potential traumas for people. And in 12-step programs like Alcoholics Anonymous, people are paired with a sponsor, and you build like a real, authentic relationship with them, and it doesn't cost you fucking money.
That's true.
And I feel like it was all repurposed, like they used it as a manipulation just to get people bonding.
Right, and with bonding comes the natural drug high of oxytocin. That place must have been dripping with it.
Right, which is probably addictive.
Maybe that's true, but is the bonding such a bad thing? You said your birthday makes you depressed. Wouldn't this make you feel a little less alone?
By what? Sharing my most personal problems with 3 fucking strangers?
Well, why not?
I just don't like the context. I don't trust that a for-profit organization like this really gives a shit about my struggles.
Alright, I hear that.
And if we've learned anything from the endless cult documentaries, it's not to trust charismatic guru thought leaders, especially in the trillion-dollar wellness and self-help industry.
Trillion?
Trillion, bitch. And we've discussed this before. The more power and influence people accumulate, the shittier they become.
Yeah, but your issue seems more about this exercise than Jesse Israel, doesn't it? You're all upset about the wellness industry.
No, it's
Hold on,
not.
I just don't see what this has to do with the discomfort you were feeling.
You know what? You win. I'm an asshole, okay? I'm fine with that. Because you know who gets fucked the most in these things? The consumers. The vulnerable people desperate to give their money away for some kind of guidance or peace of mind.
Honestly, it just feels like you're looking for something to rant about. What does this have to do with your discomfort during your share?
I explained that.
Not really. It seemed to be going fine before you spoke. So, what happened?
I don't know.
Here's what I think. It seemed like you thought you were above this part.
No.
Coming in as a skeptical spy guy, but you were feeling lonely and depressed. Is it possible you were craving some kind of connection?
No.
Yes, you were. And when their struggles about being alone resonated with yours, you entered a vulnerability fugue and you were uncomfortable with it. Isn't that it?
No.
Just admit it. You're pissed because you're just like everybody else.
Okay, how am I like everyone else?
You're seeking answers like you were talking about earlier, and you were hoping to find some at MediClub.
I wanted to see if I could calm my mind a little, that's all.
Then learn mindfulness techniques. You could have done that by yourself.
That wasn't the whole point of going, though.
You went to an event where you knew hundreds of people would be doing this together. Plus, you could have just passed when it was your time to share.
It was awkward. I feared the pain of exclusion, that thing we were talking about.
Bullshit. You wanted to share. You wanted to. But you didn't want to admit it. So admit it.
Admit what?
That you were curious. Admit that you were curious.
Calm down already.
You were hiding behind this cool guy persona, judging everyone else, and it didn't feel good to hear that you have the same problems as the other suckers. Isn't that it?
Fine, yes, fuck you. Jesus, I didn't want to feel like everyone else, okay? Who wants to be like everyone else?
Lots of people. Anyway, it turns out you're a sucker and an asshole. Hey, are we having a breakthrough?
No.
So, your bitchy vulnerability fugue aside, your issue is that they're trying to manipulate a sense of bonding and trust by using methodology from 12-step programs?
And charging for it, yeah, don't you agree?
Honestly, it doesn't seem that out of bounds. Maybe they needed a warning that potentially difficult topics were coming up and it's okay to opt out, but mostly it seems you were being a spaz.
You really should consider becoming a therapist.
Either way, we don't know. We don't know exactly what their strategy was, and besides, I'd rather ask the studio audience about your ass rating.
Ah, fuck.
All right, everyone. Was Gabe being open and fair-minded, Rose/Woody? Wow. One solo clap. Wait, was that you?
No. I don't know.
Or was he stuck in a narrow-minded grump fugue, being a super skeptical, not funny at all Ricky Gervais/Larry David?
All right, but I did have a breakthrough. Maybe I'll have another.
Let's see what happens next at the Sad Birthday Boy MediClub.
I considered walking out of MediClub after I left the bathroom, but at this point, I was pot committed. As I returned to my seat, Jessie was in the middle of a number of upsell announcements and then introduced a woman who was doing her last MediClub as an organizer. She was blonde and wore a flowy peach-colored dress. She told a 5-minute story about what it meant to her and all the wonderful people she met and the unforgettable experiences she had. She was in tears and spoke of how thankful she was that this community let her spread her wings, feel seen and heard, yada yada. This led to thunderous applause and a standing ovation. Yep, we're standing up, like she just finished an impossible piano recital. I thought we were going to carry her out. Then Jessie took the mic back and introduced the finale. A sing-along. A musician that didn't look nearly as cool as the other pretty people walked up the aisle into the center with a guitar on his shoulder, accompanied by a much hipper-looking, light-skinned black woman. He wasn't dressed in denim with cool hair. He was a bit pudgy and wore khakis and boat shoes and looked like he just rolled out of bed. I kind of liked him for that. So they started singing a positive thinking song that was annoyingly tolerable. And then it was sing-along time. The guitar player introduced our section to a 3-note melody to sing as a group, and then we rehearsed it. Then he turned his attention to another section and added a harmony, which kind of threw our section off. I could hear people singing it wrong. I found myself correcting them and obnoxiously singing the right part overly loud so they'd hear me, like plugging my left ear with my finger so I could hear myself better. I'm like a choir director all of a sudden. I'm taking it very seriously. We rehearsed it until we got it right, and after a number of tries, we put it together with all the other sections, and then magic religious singing. I can't stress this enough. I sang my little heart out. If someone had reached out for my hand, I would have taken it. Worst of all, I think I was doing that bliss smiling thing while I was singing. Jesus Christ.
Inner voice, I guess they really pried my third eye open. I was at a total bliss fugue. I can't believe it.
Who was having a good time?
I was.
They kind of struck a chord there, didn't they? Really closing on a good note.
Okay.
I gotta say, I didn't see this coming. How did they convert you?
I don't know if they converted me, but it was kind of a perfect storm, I guess. It makes sense. I'm mostly an extrovert, kind of bossy, and I'm obsessed with music, listening to it, playing it, so,
Sure, but it probably speaks to a bigger social phenomenon.
Like what?
The high of synchrony. Makes me think of your little brain.
It's your brain, too.
I know, it's our little brain.
What are you talking about?
Your cerebellum.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get my joke, do you?
No, I do not.
Cerebellum literally means little brain in Latin. It's structured just above your brainstem, and it looks like a smaller version of your whole brain. It's like a mini-me brain embedded in your regular brain.
Oh my God, stop saying brain. So what's it do again?
It's best known to coordinate physical movement. For instance, if an asshole magician made your cerebellum disappear, you would no longer be able to dance.
Well, it sounds like I wouldn't even be able to stand up, right?
Yeah, it basically optimizes instructions for large muscle groups in your body for balance and other movements.
Okay, so everything from a yoga tree pose to having sex.
Great, another random sex reference, but yeah. Do you know how many muscle groups it requires just to walk, let alone copulate?
I don't know, your groin, your quads.
Your hamstrings, your glutes, your hippoductors, your lower calves, your shins, dozens of back muscles.
And we just take it for granted.
The cerebellum's like a machine learning supercomputer up there, and it makes all physical movements seem seamless.
There should be a cerebellum recognition day.
For super dorks, sure.
And I already know the theme song for it. I'm your tiny dancer, dancer for money. I'll do what you want me to do.
It's the wrong song.
Your tiny dancer, dancer for money.
Really going for it. It's the wrong song.
What are you bitching about?
That's Private Dancer. Why would it be Tiny Dancer in that Tina Turner song? That doesn't even make sense. Elton John sings Tiny Dancer, okay?
Oh. Okay. Hold me closer, down, dancer.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
So get this, they looked at the brains of classical music conductors while they listened to Bach and followed along to the score. They found that when they changed the rhythm of the piece, blood flow to the cerebellum increased, even though the conductors didn't actually move a muscle.
So the cerebellum doesn't just process and coordinate physical movement, it processes sensory information too.
It's also known to regulate emotional responses like fear and pleasure.
And music is basically an emotion delivery system. And here we are. In the context of MediClub, people aren't just listening to music, they're now bliss singing it together.
Yeah, all their cerebellums.
They're Tina Turner tiny dancers.
Their Elton John tiny dancers, dipshit, are all lit up.
Together, synchronized, which is probably familiar if, for instance, you ever attended a musical concert.
A musical concert?
Shut up. A rock show, hip-hop shows, where the audience is singing every word with the artists. That high will never die.
Not to poke the bear, but we've established you're not exactly a fan of cult leaders, right?
Obviously. So?
Well, one of the most iconic visual representations you see of people being manipulated by cult leaders is a marionette. Close-up of a hand connected by strings to a puppet.
My favorite.
Okay then, if our cerebellums, our tiny dancers, are our movement processors, don't you think it's kind of funny that 200 people, including skeptical Larry David Yu, all handed over the keys to your cerebellums, allowing the MediClub organizers to essentially pull your strings, making you sing and dance precisely as they wanted you to in this slightly cult-like event?
Yeah, but connecting musically with other people is probably one of the best things we do.
Look at that. Now you're defending them.
I don't get it. Whose side are you on?
I'm just pointing it out. This is how they get you, and they got you.
Maybe I will join a cult. We should test my thetan levels for the next ass scale.
Ass thetans. So, what do you think, studio audience, after this MediClub choir? Are we looking at a House MD, aka Larry David asshole? Or Rose from Golden Girls / Woody from Cheers sucker?
We're gonna have to change the name of this show from assholes to suckers. I've totally redeemed myself.
Slow your roll there, let's do a quick review. At the end of part 1, you were sitting at around a 7.5 on the ass scale. Your composite score. Pretty far along towards asshole.
So, what's my score for part 2?
You've been all over the place. In your meditation high fugue, you were sitting at around a 3. Much closer to sucker.
God, I'm so open-minded.
Yeah, until we got to the shares.
Right, my resentment fugue. I still think that's a healthy dose of skepticism, though. Scamming 12-step programs to create community bonding at a paid event.
Yeah, I remember. You were a 9.
A 9?
That's being generous. You had a total meltdown. I mean, I see your point, but you were the definition of an asshole. You're basically a cat.
What?
Cats. Who's a bigger asshole than a cat?
Oh.
But at the end of your glowing sing-along fugue, getting your cerebellum tiny dancer tickled, you were at a 2 on the ass scale.
I never again want to think about my cerebellum being tickled, but you're right. This was a manic episode.
So your part 2 final score is about a 4.5.
Hey, not bad.
It's been a journey, and in part 3 we'll get to the end of this MediClub journey, finally.
Thanks for joining us out there, and keep an eye out for the conclusion of this event, where we'll find out just how deep this asshole goes.
Assholes is brought to you by Fugues Media, all rights reserved. Distribution of this material is strictly prohibited. Services rendered and promotional fees provided by the following: Teal Swan. Lots of extra credit video and articles in the show notes. Jill Bolte Taylor's unforgettable TED Talk, The Stroke of Insight. I think probably one of the first TED Talks to go viral, and some fun insights into what a total pothead Carl Sagan was. You can also read about the history of 12-step programs, and there's a great article in Scientific American about the high of synchronized activities, plus loads about how our tiny dancer, Elton John, cerebellums work. Fugues is written and produced by this asshole, Gabriel Berezin, music composition by Santiago Arias Rozo, script editing by Monty Montan, and logo design by Justin Montan. See you in the next Fugue.